Good morning. Hope you're all very well today. I'm joined by a very good friend of mine, Dr. James Goolnik. He's got the best smile in the UK, and I think that's what you need from a dentist. Who wants a dentist with crooked teeth? He's got the whitest, brightest smile I've ever met. He's a great guy as well. And not only is he an award-winning dentist, being twice voted by the Dental Society, or whatever it's called, their dentist body of professional, whatever, twice voted as the Dentist of the Year. He has also written a brilliant cookbook with the Caldesis and also our good friend Jenny Phillips. And he also runs a charity called the Rewards Project that looks at finding alternative ways to award ourselves treats rather than the standard cakes and the standard sweets and so on and so forth. And that he's back there on your screen now is the Rewards Project. Definitely worthy a look post-show today. You're quite right. A few of you have been saying there's been a couple of times now where we haven't done today's food fact. Well, that's where we thought we'd keep it interesting for you. We have doubled up today to make up for the fact that we did miss one or two throughout the shows. And again, massive thank you to everybody that's been supporting the Food Bank show and the campaign to raise money for food banks across the UK. Your help has been absolutely tremendous. We're well over £20,000 now, and your support has been brilliant. If you haven't yet donated or would like to make a further donation, two things we ask. One is a financial donation, either via Just Giving or you can text a donation. That helps sort of the running costs of the charity, whose costs have gone up recently as many of the centres have had to close down, and instead they're doing home deliveries to families that desperately need to put food on their table today. And the second way you've been helping and continue to help, and we ask you to, again, keep doing it, is to be putting in food into those collection boxes in your local supermarket. And the great thing when you do that is that it goes to people in your own community. It doesn't go off to some sort of central big warehouse. It stays in your community. So you really are helping those that live close to you, friends and neighbours that maybe have fallen on hard times, maybe be made redundant, or self-employed, they've got no work at the moment, or maybe families that the children normally have school meals that, of course, no schools are open. So there's a lot of people right now that have really, through no fault of their own, completely struggling to put food on the table. So any donation you can make at the food bank or the food collection point would be fantastic. They will go direct then to people within your community. And again, a huge thank you to everybody that's already done that. And maybe one of the silver linings of this, because we'll still need food banks, post-COVID, is that maybe we've all just got into the habit of that. Maybe we didn't used to do it before, so maybe there is a good thing to come out of that too. And of course, we're all slightly excited, aren't we, about what Boris may or may not say tomorrow, re-lockdown. And it's going to be very, very interesting because tomorrow's guest probably has more data on this subject than anybody else on the planet. We've got Ivor Cummings up tomorrow, and I'm so excited. We've kind of planned it in to have him ahead of Boris's speech to see if what the science around the world is teaching us is getting through to our government, and let's see if we reflect the reality of the situation at the moment. And apparently they're going to change their logo, the stay at home, protect the NHS, save lives, which is perfect because I've got my own right now, which I encourage you, those of you that follow me on Twitter, I am The Health Daddy. Go and find me on Twitter. I've pinned this one to the top of my tweets. Eat real food, protect the NHS, save lives, because post-corona, and in fact, even right now, that is such an important message. When you look at all the data, and we'll look at this in a lot more detail tomorrow with Ivor, when you look at that data, it really is a disease that's been affecting, a virus been affecting those that have underlying medical conditions, and of course those that are older. And those underlying medical conditions that it seems to just identify people and go laser gunned approach at these individuals are those that have problems with the metabolic syndrome, and metabolic syndrome, of course, relating to the food we eat, relating to the fact that over the last 300 years, our sugar has increased from 1.8 pounds. Oh, let me check that. It says pounds, actually. This is straight from James' book, who we're going to be speaking to shortly. It says in here that our sugar intake has increased from 1.8 to 24 pounds per year. Yes, it is pounds. In 300 years. That is, the body's just not used to this onslaught of sugar. And then if you also bear in mind that all carbohydrates break down into sugar, so add that to the sugar we're adding, but also add that then to the bread, the pasta, the rice that we're taking, that 12-inch Subway turning into 15 teaspoons of sugar. Add that onslaught of the increased carbohydrates to our increase in sugar, we are absolutely damaging our metabolic process within the body, leading to a whole host of diseases, leading to the fact that our life expectancy is getting shorter. And if you were with me 2 days ago, when we were discussing how that, well, with Eric, about that, he talked about elephants. When they first brought elephants to the circus in America, their life expectancy fell away. I mean, it just in captivity fell away. And then they realized that they were feeding them not the food that elephants were eating in the wild. So they looked at what elephants were eating in the wild. They started to feed them that in the circus. And now, because those elephants were safe, they're not out in the wild, they're not going to be attacked, and they've got no food on the table the whole time, and it's the food they like to eat. Their life expectancy went beyond that of the elephants in the wild. Now, if you think about that in terms of us, sapiens, we aren't eating the food that we used to eat. If we were to eat the food that we're designed to eat, now that we have very few sort of things that are completely dangerous, we're not being attacked by animals, we never freeze to death, our chances of dying of some accident have just completely been reduced. We're now surrounded by this brilliant NHS that if we do catch something nasty and horrible, like COVID, they're there to try and help protect us. So we are living in this bubble, if you like, of complete protection at the moment. And if we were able to get our diet back, life expectancy should be going up, not down. It's absolutely tragic that they're saying that my children's generation won't live as long as our generation. It's just ridiculous. We should be going, life expectancy should be going up and up and up and up as we're learning more about our bodies, we're learning more about science. But sadly, the food we're eating is sending us in the wrong direction. And hopefully, over the past few weeks, and who knows, maybe tomorrow will be the last show, we don't know, because we said once lockdown's over, we won't be able to come and do the show, because Jack will have to get back to his studies, and I'll have to get back to running the companies. So, but hopefully what you've learned over the shows is that we really need to get back to eating real food. And if you haven't yet got my book, you can now download it on Amazon on Kindle, £3.99, all the money going to the food banks, other than the bit that goes to Amazon, of course. And that's the whole premises of my book, Fat and Furious. It's, we've got to get back to eating the way the body's designed to eat, and then we should see life expectancy going up and not down. Jack, have we got James with the show this morning?
1 second.
He's just connecting James. As we do, let me say good morning to everybody. Andrew's with us this morning. Andrew, I've never met before, but I know he's from the army, because Andrew has been with us for a while now on the show. Kirsty, good morning. Gemma, Lee, Norma, Sarah, Tracy, good morning to you all. Now, you're absolutely right. We do have a competition. Thanks for that, Jack. Say hello, Jack, to everybody this morning. Jack's up bright and early this morning helping me prepare the show, and he said, Dad, we have a few times forgot to do the food fact, so I thought I'd throw two in today that are kind of linked together, and that is lemon and lime. And lemon and lime, along with oranges, actually I think was the very first randomized trial around food, because back in 1747, when people were getting sick on the boats, the Navy were getting sick, they divided them into different groups to find out what could stop people from getting scurvy. And they found that oranges and limes, people that had that didn't get the scurvy, and that's the first randomized trial. So we know that lemons and limes are full of vitamin C, but they're also full of loads and loads of antioxidants. I take one literally every single morning. Today I've got a slice of lemon in fact, various slices of lemon. Some mornings it's lime. but always with ginger in the bottom. Just love the flavour, wakes you up, use it to take my vitamins, absolutely fabulous. Yum, yum, yum. The other competition we've been asking about is what have you cooked for the first time yesterday, and you're sending us in your things that you've cooked. One of the things I'm going to cook for the first time today, and I'm going to do a slight variation on it because I don't like to plagiarise, but I'm going to take out of James Goolnik's Kick Sugar book, I'm going to take his chocolate cake because that looks really, really fabulous. So I'll make a few little tweaks and I'll show you the results of that tomorrow. Good morning, James. How are you?
Hello. Can you see me? Hello.
I can't yet. Can you?
I can, yeah.
Can you hear me?
Just 1 second. Where's
can't
my
hear you,
headphones?
mate.
Why have they gone off? This
Where
is technology.
it?
How are you, James?
Hello, everybody.
Hey, how you
Can
doing?
anyone hear me?
Yeah, got you loud and clear.
Right, let's try 1, 2, 3.
Got
Can
you.
hear me?
Yeah, how are you? Hey, James. Now we can't hear you. We could hear you before. So we've got a. Hello. Put your headphones back on, James. See, can you hear him, Jack?
No.
We can't. We could hear you, but now we can't. I don't know if you can hear us, James, but a moment ago we could hear you, but now we can't. Right, Jack, is there anything you can do to help James with the sound notes? We think it's your end, James. A minute ago we could hear you, and obviously you may have pressed something, maybe muted yourself, maybe your microphone's gone off or come out, but we could hear you a moment ago. Got
Can
you.
you hear me now?
Got you. How are you?
You got me. Hooray! Sorry about that.
That's okay. So what's been happening? Obviously, all dental surgeries closed with lockdown. What's been happening in your life without your surgery being open?
We spent most of my time communicating with my team, just reassuring them, making sure they're happy, giving them things to do, catch up with their CPD, and learning new skills. So when we open again, they can offer more things to our clients, like acupuncture and different ways for pain relief. And then with our patients, we've been reaching out with them just to make sure that we're here. We're reassuring them. I've been filming lots of videos about how to fix common dental emergencies, sending out painkillers, antibiotics, and lots of different things just to try and reassure them to make sure that they know we're here. We've been sort of doing video conferencing using Zoom a lot, just to try and reassure people, and can diagnose quite a lot on a smartphone now. It's actually quite surprising, but you can diagnose so much more now. So we're actually putting in video consults now just to try and help people and reassure them, because it's a crazy time when you can't see a dentist. And it's been 7 weeks now, and people are not eating very healthily. So we're trying to encourage them to eat healthier, use this time to cook from scratch. And then also looking at all the different things we can do, put in place that when we do come back, that we can take care of them better.
When you say using the smartphone, do you mean you've been like getting people to put it in the mouth and you've been having a look around?
Yes. It's been actually amazing. People have had ulcers and things like that, and they've been moving around their face, and it's like, okay, show me this. Yeah, this is how it is. They've been taking snapshots. If they've got a broken tooth, they take a shot of it, and then I talk them through how you can use a little nail file to clean it down. Temporary filling materials. I've got bags of temporary filling materials that I've been posting out to people,
really?
And making sure they're happy. So yeah, we're doing quite a lot in that respect. So I've never been busier of sort of helping people and making sure that reassuring them and making sure they're healthier and happier, and they can use this time as a productive time, because we're never going to have this opportunity again to look at our lives, reset, and say, okay, what's important, what's not important, and what shall I put in place going forward? I'm sure, like you, a lot of people have cancelled direct debits or looked at their outgoings, especially if they're not earning any money anymore, and they're actually looking and say, okay, before I just say yes to everything again, what do I need in my life anymore? So that's a big thing that people have been doing, which has been great. And obviously clearing out the cupboards, reorganizing things. There's lots that we can do, actually. It's I didn't know 7 weeks has gone so quickly. I don't know about you, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. I reckon a lot of dental surgeries are going to smell of new paint when they open, because I bet a lot of you being in cleaning up and painting and all that. And I was just,
Getting rid of things on.
I just had a little smile to myself because I saw a little video clip the other day of some guy that pulled his own tooth out, and he reckons he took it like an hour to do. And I thought, when I saw that, I thought, I bet he wishes Dr. James Goolnik was his dentist, because I'm sure you'd have found an alternative for him.
There are a lot of alternatives. I mean, the scary fact we heard this morning, actually, that these urgent dental care centres that the NHS have opened to try and help it, the only treatment option they do is extraction. So in this modern day, the only thing, if you've got toothache, is that you're going to pull your tooth out. And they're seeing on average 4 patients a day. So if you can imagine how long it's going to take to get through all these people with toothache, it's just crazy. And then I read as well that they're going to open the garden centres on Wednesday, and you're thinking, garden centres or health? What's really most critical, really? Rather, most people don't even have a garden, so why would you want a garden centre open before your oral health? So I'm a little bit concerned about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And from personal experience, toothache, I suppose every human's different, but personally, toothache for me is, I've had kidney stones, I've had all sorts of things in the past, I broke limbs and stuff, but toothache can be the most horrendous pain of all. And oh, crikey, that's, I would have hoped, I'm like you, I would have hoped dentists opening up first would be the #1 thing.
No. Well, I've done loads of stuff. There's things that you can do really easy to help. I mean, the problem is when we're locked up and then haven't got access to help, the pain that you experience suddenly gets magnitude by 50 times. So if you can speak to your dentist and at least get reassurance, get put on a waiting list, and then show them how you can manage it, it actually makes a massive difference. And a lot of toothache, initially, if you catch it, you can reverse it if you're careful. So if you start changing your diet, as we talked about, getting rid of sugar and carbohydrates and eating healthier, then actually you can reverse some of it all. So I'm hoping that my patients come out of this healthier and also appreciating healthcare a little bit more, because the scary stats we talked about before is that 300 years ago, we were healthier than we are now. So this is like, hey ho, this is a wake up call that we are not eating the right things. And the people that seems to be affected more by COVID seem to be the people with the metabolic diseases and the people that the diet maybe needs some alteration. So how about coming out of this a bit healthier, looking at our diet and seeing if this generation can be a whole different thing. But I was in the papers yesterday, I was reading about the VE Day, and people were comparing it to COVID. And I was thinking, well, I mean, we are fighting for 6 years for this. Millions of people were dying. And we're talking about, okay, it's tragic that people are dying here, but this has been 7 weeks asked to stay at home and maybe watch Netflix. This is not as major catastrophe as everyone is saying. It's not in comparison with a war. But we need to sort of focus again and actually use this to reboot ourselves and see what we should be putting back into the environment, into our homes, our friends and families, and actually using this as a reboot thing, because that's something that I'm really passionate about, using this as something else. And we talked earlier on, Steve, about rewards, and one of my passions about that. And I want people to think about this. I'm not a neuropsychologist, I'm not a behavioral psychologist, but I spent the last 2 years looking at rewards and how we reward our children and ourselves for good behavior and performance. And I'm shocked that people still think sugar is a reward. I mean, it is killing us. Most people know it's a poison. And why would you want to associate that with rewarding yourself? So if you think about it, when you're washing up, I'm sure you do loads of washing up around the house, but some people, when they're washing up, they think, oh, I really hate this. Oh, you know what? When I finish this, I'm going to have a bar of chocolate. It's like, come on, what is this association between food and doing well? I really want to break this association, because there are millions of different rewards that you can have that don't involve food or sugar. And we've got this weird association, and it seems to happen at school. And that's why we're focusing as a charity on schools initially, because we're supposed to be taught healthy lifestyles and nutrition at school. It's supposed to be a protective environment. So food and processed food, sugar and processed food isn't there, and they're having healthy things. and then they do well in a test and they get a chocolate bar. When my daughter wanted to do some promotion, they would say for a charity at school, they said, "Oh, why don't you do a charity donuts?" And a certain company sells donuts to the schools at 50% off if you're donating money for charity. I'm thinking, hang on a second, this isn't right. And then I see on the news amazing NHS heroes, and we're doing so much for them. And then all these food companies are delivering pizza, hamburgers, fast food, and going, thank you so much for your help. Thank you for helping all these patients. And we're going to kill you with all this rubbish food. It's like, it doesn't really make sense. So it's like, can we step back a bit? In our predecessors in ancient time, it was our brain system had this neurochemical, which a lot of people know, called dopamine, and it was there to help our survival. So it was like, okay, I'm hungry, we're going to go and get something. Let's get some food, real food, eat it, and then we have our dopamine release, and we're off again. But it seemed to be twisted now. So now it's actually, we need this every 30 seconds. We're checking our smartphones, and all the smartphone people are actually designing the apps so we can keep checking every 30 seconds. And I don't know about you, but I've often gone out of the house and then thinking, checking all my pockets everywhere and frantically being anxious, thinking, have I left my phone at home? It's like, wow, we need this checking every time, and checking our social media and seeing what's going on. But actually, thousands and millions of years ago, we didn't do that. It was actually just about nutrition, food, and actually getting us through the day. But now all these companies, if you think about like Starbucks rewards and Happy Meals and all this, they're giving us all these little hits of dopamine all day long. And the problem with it is our neurotransmitters get overloaded with it, and then they down-regulate. So then we need even more and even more. And it's, if you imagine the sort of the packet of crisps or something, you have one crisp and suddenly you need another, and suddenly 30 seconds later, the whole packet's gone. It's because of this neurotransmission, and it just keeps getting down-regulated. So how can we do something better? I mean, if you think about ancient times, in the Olympics, when they did really, really well, and they got their awards and things, they got the badge, they got their sort of laurel wreath and things, and that was enough. Now it's like crazy. There's everywhere you go is sugar, and it's just driving me absolutely berserk. And I want to just try and think about, if you think about, Steve, like maybe over the last week, if you think about what was the most memorable thing that's happened in your week, I'm sure, and you're very healthy, so it probably doesn't happen to you, but a lot of people listening out there, having that second dessert at the end of the meal, or having that bar of chocolate, is not the thing you're going to remember about the highlight from last week. No. It was the experience. And for me, I mean, yesterday with my 6-year-old, we were putting up the VE Day celebrations and doing all the decorations and bunting and the Union Jack, and just spending half an hour with her, one-to-one, no other sort of interactions, no phone, no nothing, and actually doing all these decorations for somebody else, made us both feel connected, and that gave me my dopamine hit, and that was my experience. So I encourage the people listening to this to think about what you've done over the last week. What was the highlight? I guarantee it was something, an experience of some sort, almost certainly with somebody that you love or live with, because obviously with the lockdown, we can't go out as much. But just think about that, and that's how we need to reset and actually go back. And one of the things we do with the Rewards Project is, especially starting with children, is we don't want to associate good behavior and performance with food or sugar. And if you start doing that at a young age, as they get older and older and older, they're going to just associate that, and that will be their habits. We want to break that earlier on. So I want schools and nurseries to be sugar-free. I want us to think about what you can do. And most of us as adults, and especially children as well, need recognition. So the number one thing that we need to be doing is, when somebody's done something nice to you, or you've just noticed something, is like stepping and saying, Steve, you know what you said to me just then about that? That really meant something to me, and because of this, this, and this, and thank you so much. And that's what, as a society, we should do more of. It's appreciate that somebody's done something, acknowledge them, be sincere, rather than the American of thank you, thanks so much, everything. It's like, be sincere, make sure it's actually at that time. And if possible, when we all go back to work and things like that, is do it in a team and say, look, Sarah did this great thing for this patient today. When she was worried about this and that and the other, she got in and did this, and this is how she felt. And I just want to say thank you, Sarah, because that was brilliant. And I think that's what we could be doing more of. First of all, just thanking people, appreciating them, and sort of making sure that they know that you've seen them. And then if you want to take it further, then it's experiences, but making these experiences bespoke rather than giving everyone cinema tickets when some people don't go to the cinema. I was like, okay, speak to your team, find out individually what motivates them, speak to your family, find out what motivates them. Maybe for some people, it might be just spending time together watching television. For other people, it might be going to cinema together when we can do that. For other people, it might be just a bunch of flowers or something. So just think about what is that motivates that person, and then do that regularly, but without being sort of asked to do it. Like, I really hate things like Valentine's Day, even though we do it, is that we're forced on the 14th of February to do this. And it's like so corny. It's like, why do you wait once a year to give your partner some flowers? Just do it spontaneously. It doesn't cost a lot of money, and just appreciate them. So I think there's so many different things, experiences, whether it's theater, exercise. For some people, exercise is something that they really look forward to in a class. Other people, they hate it. So try and think about those different things. And then the big thing that we don't do enough of is just spending time together. So especially with children, is actually having time with them. And at school, when they talk about what can you give, stickers work really well. Stationery works really well. The teacher just spending 5 minutes with that people on their own, because there's a big class of 25, and then spending just 5 minutes on their own is a massive thing. So just think about the thing is experiences, time, gifts as well, but it doesn't have to be expensive. It can be little things. It could be, we do Employee of the Month, and it could be just a little glass plaque and it gets passed around. It could be a mascot. Just think about the different things, because as a society, we've got an opportunity now. And I think we've really got to try and break this reward dopamine cycle where every 30 seconds we need a dopamine hit, because it is driving people completely crazy. It's causing behavioral changes that aren't working. It means that we don't communicate properly as a family and as a population, and then we eat rubbish. And really, food is fun. It's nutritious. We should enjoy the time in our kitchen. I was talking to Jenny Phillips. I know you've had her on the show. And one of the big things she said is try and make your kitchen or your cooking area a fun place to be in it. So whether it's music on or decorating it differently or something, what could you do to make your environment fun? But then look further and say, look, you know what? Fine, happy to have sugar, happy to have things. It's not every day. It's occasional, and it's not as the reward. It's not suddenly you do well, you do that. We need to break that cycle and look at other rewards that we can do, because it is not working.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, you know, everything you said there was fantastic, and I didn't want to interrupt you at all, but I've got so many questions now to throw back. I've been writing them all down. First thing I'd say to anybody that's watching right now, if you want to kick the sugar, there's 2 books to buy, not just yours. It's not mine, the other one, by the way. There's 2 books you should go out and buy. You should buy James's book, All the Money Goes to Charity. You should buy Robert Lustig's book called Hacking the American Mind. I don't think it goes to charity, but it's an absolutely fantastic, fantastic book, because the 2 together really help you understand the difference between rewards and happiness, really help you understand the difference between dopamine and serotonin. And don't get me wrong, we need some rewards in our life, but too much rewards, too much dopamine actually reduces serotonin and leaves you unhappy at the end. So what you were saying a moment ago, and that's what made me think about this, you said, what will I remember from the past few weeks? And you're absolutely right. It won't be that extra glass of wine or that extra chocolate bar. It will be that memory of some experience, maybe with your children, or somebody over the garden fence having a conversation. Or for us, we all went naughtily, supposedly, I don't know if it's right or wrong, to my mum and dad's for their 80th the other day. We sat there, they put a ladder across their patio door, so my mum, who's got Alzheimer's, couldn't get out, my kids couldn't get in. So we put a ladder across, we kept our 2 meters, and then we camped in their garden overnight. I don't know if that's right or wrong. And we'll remember that, but we won't remember the extra glass of wine we had, for sure. And that's the difference between sort of dopamine, the glass of wine, the chocolate bar, the sweets, the candy, and then the happiness, always serotonin. And you can't have too much happiness, but my God, you can have too much rewards. So that's the one thing I wanted to pick up on. These 2 books explain that brilliantly. And then the company one I thought was interesting. How do you say thank you? Anybody wants to write to me, email me at any point, steve@primal.living.com. We have a reward system at work, and there's plasma screens up all the way around the building. And then electronically, you have to tie it back into one of the 6 beliefs of the company. And then you have to say why you said that Joe in the warehouse or John in the call center deserve recognition. And then if more people piggyback on the back of it, they then get a physical sterling silver coin, because like you were saying, what reward can we give? No point doing cinema tickets if they don't go to the cinema, but silver eventually, if you get enough of them, you can melt it down, you've got some cash. Or you might just love the fact that they come in this lovely presentation box. So there was that. And then the third thing I wanted to pick up on, and this is going to be interesting if we're out of lockdown by middle of August. So my 4-year-old turns 5. Obviously in the class of 2025, that means you go to about 20 to 25 parties every year with the little one. And the parents, the moms, my wife including at the moment, this is why it's going to be a bit of a challenge, there's the party bag competition to see who can make the best party bag competitions. And it is almost 100% full of sugar and crap, and we're not rewarding, we're poisoning the kids.
It drives me mad.
So what I'm going to talk to my wife about this, what can you start putting in, like you said?
I can help you with that one. My wife is similar. My wife is similar, and she helped. We wrote a big blog. So if you go onto rewardsproject.org and go onto our blog, we have a whole blog of alternative party bag gifts and how you can make it really fun and exciting, and not fill it with Haribos and sticker sweets and rubbish like that, because the kids aren't going to remember it. So we've got loads of different things. So obviously they've got to be age specific, but it's all about personalizing them. So we've got there's companies out there that will personalize the bags with the names of the kids on it. There's so many different things you can do in a party bag to make it fun for the kids, and playing around with it. There's all the little wooden games, there's puzzles they can make, there's little mini Legos that you can do. As I said, it's all age specific of what you can do with them, but we found it's been amazing how you can change them. You need to think a little bit more out of the box. The problem with a lot of these things, and that's why we have a big battle with all the sweets and stuff, is that it's the lowest common denominator. You don't even have to think. If you're at the supermarket, it's right in front of you. If you just think, I'll just buy a boom of those there, they're cheap, I don't think. But it's not right. Would you do that for your kid's birthday? If it was their birthday party, you wouldn't just buy them a big box of chocolates and say, Emily, happy 6th birthday. Here we go. Here's 500 grams of sweets. Enjoy.
James, can I interrupt you? Can I interrupt you there? Because this is the perfect time for you to get that message across right now then with this conversation. So parents realise this is serious stuff. Tell everybody what the biggest admissions for hospitalisation of children is.
Yeah, so the number one admission in the UK for hospital of children under 10-year-olds is to have teeth extracted under general anaesthetic. So that is teeth ripped out that were otherwise healthy for no other reason but eating too much sugar.
Frightening.
So we need to work on this, and we catch it young. That's why our mission as a charity is to get all schools and nurseries by 2023 to be sugar-free. We want all party bags to be fun, exciting, engaging, and not full of food. Fine, have a piece of cake, no problem at all. It's a birthday. It's all, but try and think beyond it. Think beyond sugar. Think of other things that are much more fun and much more engaging. My daughter got recently a little bottle with the bubbles, the bubble mixture, and she's probably spent 2 hours in the garden running around, blowing bubbles, having fun with everybody. They cost 20p. They're not expensive. Really fun and engaging, and something that she's going to remember rather than that little bag of sweets, which she is not going to remember for you. So there's loads of things. If you go onto the website and the blog, we've got over 50 different ideas that you can use age specific for different children, and just make it really fun and engaging, and they're going to really exciting. Okay, if you want to have a competition of the bags, fine, but just try and think outside the blocks, and also maybe sit down with your kids and say, what would you like to do? Put in the bag. What are their favorite things? Maybe they love coloring and things like that. So you can put coloring sets in. There's jigsaws, there's coloring books. There's so many different things that you can actually put in to make it fun, engaging, and healthy for your children to go back. It's not going to be food and sugar all the time. We need to get a new generation of children that are going to be healthier than us. This generation are not going to last as long as our generation if we carry on eating the rubbish that we are eating. So come on, guys, let's club together, go on to rewardsproject.org, Very happy to help. If you have any connections with schools or nurseries, we're engaging with loads of them to talk about different ways you can celebrate birthdays, because we want to celebrate, we want to acknowledge, we want to have fun, but it's not with food and sugar.
Brilliant. Absolutely fantastic, James. Lots of questions coming in. Shall we go to
Let's go on with it.
Let's go to the internet. James Hunt says, James, what is your position? Sorry, Andrew Hunt says, James, what is your position on mouthwash?
Okay, so first of all, as a healthy person, we do not need mouthwash of any shape or form. We don't recommend as dentists any sort of mouthwash. Now, if you have an infection in your mouth, then there are mouthwashes that you can use to speed up the healing. And for us, actually, the simplest one is just warm salt water. So a glass of warm water, a teaspoon of salt, and gargle it twice a day. The most important time to use a mouthwash is just before you go to bed, because when you fall asleep, you don't produce much saliva in your mouth dries up, and saliva has got natural healing properties, antibacterial properties as well. So we suggest definitely using something before. But as a regular mouthwash, we like to try and think about it as like a perfume or an aftershave. You can use it as to get rid of odors and smells. So if you've had a curry or you've smoked or something and you want to get rid of that, yes, then you can use some sort of mouthwash just to cover the smells and the tastes. But a regular, for a normal, healthy person, mouthwash is a waste of money. So spend it on something else.
And is there a danger, because we've had quite a lot of people on, doctors, experts over the last month, and nutritionists, there is a danger, is there not, of this kill 99.9% of all bacteria dead approach of reading the mouthwash, it says kills bacteria, but surely we need certain bacteria.
Go on, Matt. We've got our oral microbiome. We want healthy bacteria. And the problem is, like antibiotics, if you keep having it, one, they don't work, and two, you then get nastier bacteria and viruses coming in. So definitely not for that at all. You do not need it at all. And we have it if we have some infections in somebody's mouth, or they've just had a tooth taken out and it's not healing well, then you can use some antibacterial mouthwash for 2 or 3 days to accelerate the healing. But for regular use, definitely not. Now, there's been some interesting research actually with COVID and the fact that we're all washing our hands with detergents and soap, which actually helps break down the virus capsule. And there's been research to say actually that the toothpaste and the detergent in toothpaste can actually help break down the virus as well. So we're recommending before you go out, and especially before you come to see a dentist, and when we reopen, we're doing this, is you're going to wash your hands, you're going to then brush your teeth, and then you're going to just rinse out for 30 seconds, and then you're going to wear a mask before you come into the surgery, so we can make sure that your mouth is as clean as possible and any bacterial virus is cut down. But mouthwash for regular use, definitely not. Just think about it as a deodorizer. But it said if you've got an ulcer, and a lot of people now are a lot more stressed than normal, and if they're clenching their teeth or they've bitten an ulcer, the problem with most mouth ulcers, they go away within 2 or 3 days. But if they get infected, then they can take a couple of months to go away. So we would suggest is using salt water, keeping your mouth nice and clean. That's all you need to do. But one bit of advice, though, is if you have an ulcer that's been there for longer than 3 weeks, you need to go and see a doctor or dentist.
Brilliant. Brilliant advice, James. Thank you for that. Kirsty says, thanks, Steve and Jack, for using your time to educate us. And then Norma says, good morning, Jack. Jack, you seem to have a bit of a fan club this morning. Say hello to them. Say hello.
I said hello.
Say hello again. Say, put your camera on yourself. Stop being shy if you're not brushed your teeth. You have brushed your teeth. Okay. Kirsty then says, James, should we use fluoride-free toothpaste?
Okay, so that's an interesting one. There's a big dilemma. There is lots of research to say fluoride is actually very beneficial from the teeth, and it also does help build stronger enamel. So for me as a dentist, and I've got father of 3 children, that I've been using fluoride toothpaste on my children initially when as their teeth are developing, growing, because it does make them harder and more resistant to decay and acids. So from carbonated drinks and the acid attack from food as well. But if we are not eating any sugar or refined carbohydrates, we do not need fluoride in our toothpaste, because we shouldn't have any decay at all. So for a healthy adult who is not eating sugar and carbohydrates, then you can have fluoride-free toothpaste, or actually you can just use water. You do need to clean your teeth and clean in between the teeth, because if you don't do that, the bacterial growth and food particles stay there and you can get gum disease. But tooth decay is purely down to diet, so it doesn't matter how much you brush and clean your teeth. But as a parent, I would say fluoride toothpaste until your kids at least get through to teenagers. And at that stage, if they haven't had any decay and their diet is good, then you can just use water.
Brilliant advice, mate. Brilliant advice. Great one from Tracy, which I don't know the answer to, so I can't wait to see what you think. Is cranberry juice just as bad as other fruit juices?
Yes. So cranberry juice obviously is full of sugar, but also it's very acidic. And what we say with it is, for fruits, you should eat them as the whole fruit, because they've got the fiber and you don't get this big spike in your blood sugar level as well. But cranberry juice is just as bad as anything else. So if you are having these juices, you can reduce them by having them with meals. You can reduce the effects on your teeth as well by having straws, because that will reduce the acid attack, but it will still cause decay and it will still cause a peak in your blood sugar level. So personally, I would say get rid of all the juices, just have whole fruits and have them with meals, and that will be the best for your body and also your teeth. But if you otherwise have them through a straw, have them at meal times, and have a quick swallow of water for 30 seconds afterwards to neutralize the acid, but the sugar in there will still affect your teeth and still affect the rest of your body.
What about blackberries and blueberries that have not fructose, but they have this one beginning with an X, I can't remember, a different type of sugar, that's one of the Scandinavian countries actually give them sweets with that berry. Xylitol, that's it.
Yes.
So would a blueberry...
Xylitol. Xylitol is good in a way that it doesn't affect your blood sugar level. It also actually has been shown to actually help protect your teeth more. So that's why lots of mints and chewing gum and things, and some toothpaste have xylitol in them, which is a protective mechanism. But personally, I want to get people off that sweet taste. So I want to get you off all sort of sweeteners, and xylitol is an artificial sweetener. I know it is in some natural products, but they put it in artificially so we can get addicted or hooked on their products more. So if you are looking at any artificial sweeteners, xylitol is the most tooth-friendly one on mints and things like that. But I want people to slowly go off that. And so the research shows that after 6 days of cutting down on sweetness, your palate recalibrates. And I notice when I have something that's sweet, it really tastes so sweet because I'm so used to not having something sweet. So I would say use xylitol and these artificial sweeteners as a bridging to go from a very high sugar diet to a low sugar diet, but do not have them regularly.
Brilliant advice. Brilliant advice. Daniel says, we're told that we should not rinse the toothpaste out of our mouth. Is that correct?
Yes. So if you're using a fluoride toothpaste, the ideal way of cleaning your mouth is do all the brushing, then do the brush sticks and the floss or whatever else you do, and then no mouth rinsing, nothing, and nothing to eat for 20 minutes. Because if you're having a fluoride toothpaste, the fluoride actually helps bind to the outer side of your tooth, and it then infiltrates in and helps harden the teeth structure. But if you then rinse straight after brushing, you're rinsing all away the fluoride. So definitely no rinsing at all if you're using a fluoride toothpaste. If you're using a fluoride-free toothpaste, doesn't really matter. And if you're using water, as I said, it doesn't really matter at all. But I said, if you feel you've got if you want to rinse, then I would rinse before you brush.
Mm-hmm. Do anyone think phones these days keep forgetting, like at work, take a picture of it? I don't quite understand that one. Tracy, Steve or James, heard about using coconut for the teeth. What's your view on
oil pulling? Yes, that's a big one. And there's no evidence to show that oil pulling is beneficial at all. And the way you have to do it is you have to do it for 20 minutes at least. So if you're actually rinsing around for 20 minutes, if you've got that much time to do that, then I would say spend 2 minutes brushing your teeth properly, another 30 seconds to a minute flossing and cleaning in between the teeth, and you then now saved yourself 17 minutes to go and do something else, because oil pulling has no clinical evidence to make any difference at all. Now, some people use it and they find that they've got healthier mouths. That's because they weren't spending long enough cleaning their teeth anyway, and then actually rinsing for 20 minutes and gargling and things like that helps remove food particles. But if you want to save time, save money, and rather than buying all these expensive oil pulls, it's just brush your teeth for 2 minutes, floss and use brush sticks for a minute, and you're done.
Excellent. Thanks for the advice there. My son gets rewards with biscuits at school. Unfortunately, the school don't think there is anything wrong with it. We need to education, but the correct education.
I totally agree. I mean, you're at school, it's supposed to be a protective environment. They should be, if they're rewarding them for something, it's, with my kids' schools, it's stickers, it's there's so many different ways of recognizing children. Standing up in the class, they can be front of the queue at the lunch queue. They can spend one-to-one time with the teacher. They could choose what the next activity is. They could do fun quizzes. They can have some extra screen time. So many different things you can do with kids. You do not need to do that. And it's a bad habit of doing well, have a biscuit. And then when you get older, you think, oh, I've just had a really difficult interview with Steve. I'm going to go off and have a digestive now. And it just doesn't work like that. But that's what's happening. So if you want to email me, I will be very happily speak to your school. I said we're working with over 700 schools now in the UK, and we find that actually an email from the head of a charity, and we've got a nutritionist, doctor, psychologist, dietitian, and dentist on board. When they get an email from the charity to say, we've been hearing that you're giving digestives out when you're doing well, how about this, this, and this? We find that really does help extra. So please email me. Very happy to get engaged with the schools. Obviously, they're closed at the moment, but they're looking to get back in. And I really want to engage with the schools and nurseries to show them, because there are loads of schools out there doing amazing stuff and recognizing their kids and not using biscuits. And it just drives me crazy. I remember my kids' sports day last year, and they were finishing off, and they had all these orange juices out lined up. And I went up to the PE teacher and said, why are you giving orange juice? And they said, well, they've just run for like 20 minutes. They need the energy. And I was thinking, oh my God, you're teaching my kids nutrition and sports, and you're telling them they need an orange juice at the end of a run. This does not work. Okay, they're not performance athletes. They haven't got electrolytes that need doing. Okay, they're 14-year-olds. Just give them bloody water. It's like, okay.
So right. In fact, this is going to wind you up even more. This is going to wind you up. Okay. They're not letting you dentist open yet. But this is from Hema Patel. She says, I did hear they opened a few drive-through KFCs and the queues were a few miles long. Why are people driving to get this non-nutritional stuff? Why did the government even allow them to open?
Crazy. I mean, I understand the dilemma they've got is that people can't stay at home forever. People are getting frustrated. Most people can't cook, or they don't like cooking, and they're used to having takeaways. They like, okay, I want to get out there. I want to do something. But there's much better things to do and go out there with than just going to a KFC. You're just trying to kill the population even more. Like, come on, guys, use this as a way to let's let people back slowly, get them have a chance, but why not put straight back? I think people have got this funny thing that in a year's time, we're going to be back to where we are before, as we were before COVID. And I hope we're not going to be like that, because I hope we've learned a bit of a lesson. But two, we've got this chance to reboot. And it's like, okay, come on. Let's cook from fresh, cook from healthy food. It's cheaper. You're going to feel better afterwards. I guarantee all those people in the drive-thru, apart from being frustrated waiting an hour for their KFC, within about 45 minutes of eating it, they're going to feel tired. They're going to feel lethargic. They're going to start arguing with things. Their skin's going to get worse. They're going to get spots. They're going to get film all over their teeth. And they're just not going to feel great afterwards. And then they end up falling asleep in front of the television.
I mean, the fascinating thing is that I would never have learnt till 4 or 5 years ago, till I got into this, is that this is all about hormones, isn't it? The whole thing about rewards, happiness, we are a hormone machine sending signals around the body. So just think about that hormonal journey of that 1 hour waiting. You're getting frustrated. You've got cortisol elevated. And if you do manage to wait the entire hour, the dopamine rush, as they pass it through the window, goes sky high. Before you even taste it, you're thinking you've got your reward. It might taste like crap, but you think it tastes great because the dopamine rush was already there the second you saw it being handed out of the window. Then you crash, you got your insulin rush, then you feel hungry again, and then later that day you're not very happy at all, because actually there was no happiness, there was no serotonin, it was just cortisol and dopamine for a whole hour.
You could spend more time, and I've got a lot of people doing this. They make their own KFC at home with the kids. So they actually do it, cook it from scratch. They're all together as a family. You can cook it all in less than the time it is in your queue for an hour. And at least you're actually doing something together as a family. So if you want your KFC, make your own KFC, save some money, spend some time with the people that you love, and actually learn some new skills out of this thing, because that'll be a huge benefit rather than sitting in a traffic jam getting annoyed.
Absolutely. Now, Gemma says, Gemma Irvine, I'm a teacher at a high school. The rewards, constant supply of sugar to pupils is awful. My last school provided 3 biscuits per year 7 and 8 pupil for every child at break. And then Saturday schools, and they have Saturday schools, so 6 days a week, they were given 3 biscuits per break to their 7 and 8 year olds.
It's terrible. Crazy. And I bet she noticed that they didn't behave well afterwards, then so they were hard to teach afterwards. That's the biggest problem with teachers we're finding, that is actually there's no evidence to show they learn better after having 3 biscuits at all. But you give them some vegetables or fruit, that they'll learn a lot better, and their attention span will be better. And just there's waves all day. They're just trying to feed them the sugar just to keep them in the room for the whole day, and it's not right. It doesn't work. They don't develop properly. Their brains don't develop properly. Yeah. So definitely. If she wants to write to me, very happy to engage with her school and try and push it. I really want all your listeners and viewers to try and get behind this. 2023 sugar-free schools and nurseries. If we can get that done, that's amazing. And then it goes into the homes as well. And I'm sure you get this when the kids come back and say, Daddy, why are you eating crisps there? That's not good for you. That's going to give you heart disease. I want you to be around more. Come on, let's have something healthier. So let's try and think about this a bit more, because we need to start again and say, you know what, it's not working. Let's start. We know what works. We know the science. We just need to start educating ourselves better. One of the big things I've done, which is brilliant on the phone, is delete some of the apps, delete the news apps as well, make it harder to actually check for your dopamine hit. And you've actually, the more you leave your phone at home and do it, you actually feel better, you feel connected, you have better conversations with people. I only eat 3 meals a day, and I'm not hungry the rest of the time, because my body is eating fat. It's not needing the sugar rush all the time. So listen to your body. And one of the big things with the book, we get people to do a 3-day food diary beforehand. And they also do a diary about how they're feeling, how they're sleeping, how their skin is, how their teeth is. And then we go through the 14-day sugar challenge. And at the end of it, they fill it out. And there's so many benefits you notice. It's only 14 days. You really do notice a difference in your health and your behavior. And then think, aha, when I'm reaching for that digestive just before I go in there, am I doing it because I'm hungry? Probably because you're just bored, or you're just a habit. You've always used to do it. It's in that drawer. If you made it harder, if you threw out the digestive, you put healthier snacks around there, you'd find that actually you wouldn't want the digestives after a while. It doesn't take long to break it.
But it's not just the schools. We've got to get to the parents as well, because little Johnny's having his biscuits at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at school. Probably not many people call John anymore. Little Jack is there in his classroom, little Tom, and they're having the digestives because Mom's fed them sugar for breakfast. She's had toast and cereals. So little John, little Tom is having a crash, isn't he? He's crashing at 10. So the schools, but if we were feeding them eggs for breakfast, or yogurt or something, or berries for breakfast, then they're not going to have a crash. They won't even need their 11s.
Yeah. They're getting dessert. They're basically getting dessert for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then they're wondering why it's all going wrong, and why we're getting a massive increase in tooth decay, we're getting a massive increase in diabetes, cardiovascular disease, obesity, hypertension. And I mean, luckily as dentists, we're the first ones to see when this diet goes on, because I can tell somebody's diet. It only takes 3 months to get a tooth cavity. So if somebody's diet is full of sugar and refined carbohydrates, within 3 months, you're going to get whole. And the first thing you're going to notice is some sensitivity on your teeth, maybe some discoloration, and then it will start to be painful to hot or cold or sweet things. And that's when you've got a warning, go, hey, something going up here. I need to go and see a dentist.
So I need to interrupt you there, James, because you've been talking sugar all the way through. Are you telling me that refined carbs like bread can affect the teeth?
Yes. the refined carbs, and the worst thing is sticky refined carbs. So I actually like crisps, even though crisps, they don't taste sweet for some people. They stick between your teeth, and the carbs actually then gets broken down your mouth to acid, and the acid burns holes in your teeth as well. So it is not just the sugar. Everyone thinks it's just sugar, and they think that they can brush and floss and clean it and it'll go away. No, you can't. Once you put it in your mouth, don't care what you do afterwards, you're going to get a cavity. The second thing, if you have carbohydrates, refined carbohydrates, they will give decay as well. They take slightly longer if it's just pure carbs, but if they are sticky carbs, it's like a turbocharge. It goes crazy.
What about white bread?
Yeah, same thing. And I do this thing, an experiment with people with white bread, is they get a little bit of bread, put it in their mouth, and they chew it for 2 minutes. And you'll notice after about a minute, it starts to get sweeter and sweeter and sweeter and sweeter. It turns to sugar. And that's what is happening in your mouth. So try your bread. I know there are soda breads and brown breads and everything that release it slower, but it's still carbohydrates, and it will still give you tooth decay, and it will still give you diabetes.
So the thing I did with my children growing up, well, my older two children, when I didn't understand all this, thinking I'm a good dad, brown bread, toast, cereals with some sort of health claim on the box, an apple juice or an orange juice, every morning, because I'm a good dad, every single choice was wrong for the teeth.
Yep. And we did it. We all did it. I did it for my kids when they were younger. It's like we do what we were brought up as a child. We do what our parents did to us, and we try and get it better. We go, oh, well, my dad gave me this, so I'm going to do this because it's got more whole grain on it, or it's got more of this. So we try and get better each generation. But actually, you know what? Cereal is not breakfast, and I'm trying to get rid of it. Now, obviously, some cereals are worse than others, but cereal is not breakfast.
No, it's not. It's a pudding. It's a pudding that looks dressed up to like breakfast. By the way, for full disclosure, I did know the answer to the bread one. I set that up with James because he told me that about a year ago, and it's in my book. But the reason I wanted you to say that was because I've done that with lots of friends where they go, no, there is no way bread. They go, Steve, I get it. I get it that bread turns into sugar inside. I refuse to accept it starts in the mouth. And I went, no, James taught me about enzymes. No, this is a load of rubbish, Steve. Try it. And I've had so many people try it, and they go, after about, not even 2 minutes, like after a minute, oh, that's so sweet. So sweet.
Yeah.
Who would have thought bread could write?
I should call it the James bread test.
There you go. Daniela says, I refuse to give sugar treats to friends' children. I give organic chocolate and sometimes nuts. Well done indeed. Tracy then says, though, but organic chocolate still has sugar in except over 70%. Yeah, you want to go a higher percentage and a higher percentage as you can.
With chocolate, it's an acquired taste, isn't it? Your palate. So we say with the challenge that a lot of people, especially adults, need their chocolate, or they want their chocolate. So I don't want it to be a restricted diet. It's a way of life. So start with the 70% chocolate. Depending on the brand, they have maybe about 15 grams of sugar per 100 grams. And then try and change a brand that's got less, and then move yourself up to 85%. And I'm on 90% chocolate now, dark chocolate. It's got about 5 grams of sugar per 100 grams. So there is some sugar in it. I know about it. I only have 1 cube, and I feel so satiated, and I love the flavor and the taste of it. So whereas beforehand, you used to have a whole bar of 70%, and I'm thinking it gets the same effect. So think about it with your kids. My daughter's on 85% chocolate, and she's 6. She loves that now. She doesn't like the mint milk one because she finds it too sweet. So it's just a palate recalibration.
So quick answers now, because we've got so many to get through. Norma says, my granddaughter has 4 teeth removed before she was 5 through sweets and healthy orange and apple juice. Say no more. And that is terrible, Norma. Don't beat up your son or daughter because it's your granddaughter. It's just that they didn't know, but now we all know.
And as you said, the healthy orange juice, it's marketed as a healthy thing, and it isn't healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. Gemma says, same here, Daniela, no sweets at all. We do have the odd chocolate at home. We also have nuts. Great. Thanks, James, says Andrew. You answered this question earlier. Kirsty says, so interesting, this chat. Thank you very much. Leah says, I have 3 grown-up kids, and my 30-year-old now needs a filling. I am so upset as I have a terrible oral health and phobic. All the years of educating them, and now a filling. Bit extreme, I know. Yeah, don't beat yourself up though, because I don't think we didn't know all this, did we?
I wouldn't beat yourself up. The other thing is I would get a second opinion. If you've been to a dentist and they've said you need 8 fillings, it might be worth getting a second opinion just to see. And some of them, if the decay is in the outer surface, so in the enamel, the white bit, can be reversed. So it's like diabetes. If it's not gone into the dentine, which is the yellow part of the tooth, it can be reversed by the diet. So speak to your dentist, see if they're 1, 8 fillings need doing. 2, are any of them reversible if you put the effort in? If you're prepared to change your diet now and look at it, and we probably will need to put some fluoride varnish on the little cavities to try and reverse them, within 3 months they can reverse. So get back, change your diet, 3 months later, get back to your dentist, get them to check again. If they haven't improved, then you'll have to have them treated. But I have had thousands of patients that I've reversed their tooth decay with the diet, but you need to be motivated to do it.
Can we stick with that then, James? Because I've never heard of that ever been done. So teach us what happens there. So if you've got small decay, because I've always...
So the way decay works is this acid base, first of all. So the first stage of decay, you get a little white fleck, and you can see that with people with braces or train tracks when they have them taken off. You get these little white flecks on your teeth. So first stage is a white fleck, then goes into a brown fleck, then starts to go into a hole or a cavity, and that's purely in the enamel stages then. If when it gets through for the hard outer coating from the enamel into the dentine, that's when it becomes painful and goes deeper and then can go into the nerve and need a root canal. But while it is in the enamel, it is reversible and we can change that. And if you don't like the white or the brown stains that are left afterwards, we can actually cosmetically cover those up, but it can be reversed. Brilliant. But you have to be strict on diet. So it's the sugar and the carbohydrates. And the number one way of doing that is reducing the frequency. So if you're having these sweet things, rather than, okay, you're having a Coke or an orange juice every half hour or an hour, you can do it once a day first, and then meal times only, and slowly reduce the frequency, you will get a change within 3 months. So it is in your control. Tooth decay is 100% down to diet, and you can reverse it, but you have to be strict, and your dentist has to be on board with it, because you can't just forget about it, go back after 3 months and see how much you've reversed it.
Brilliant, James. Thank you very much indeed. Al says, are natural sweeteners as bad for your teeth as sugar?
Yes, they're all the same. It doesn't matter whether you're having honey, organic honey, whatever you want, your body treats it as sugar. So have it if you have it, but know you're having it when you're having it. If you're cooking it yourself, you know what's in it, when's in it, but really your body treats it exactly the same.
Thank you very much. Daniela said, sadly, I am not a parent, but sometimes it is a relief because I would be very unpopular. I do not care because I will not poison a child. It is shocking. Daniela, brilliant. I hear your point there loud and clear. Gemma says,
for us.
Yeah, Gemma says, schools, I have to ignore it, unfortunately, because I get called the sugar police. Gemma, things will change as more people get to know. And next time somebody calls you a sugar police, send an email to Dr. James, and he will send one from his charity, so they realise it's just not that you're some crackpot. It's like scientifically proven that this is what we need to
think about it. Like cigarettes and smoking was a few years ago. We wouldn't be giving cigarettes to our kids and thinking it's healthy. It's the same thing. It's just going to take a little bit of time, and then people are going to use sugar. Will be the same as the cigarettes. It will be a watershed. You won't be able to put it. There'll be certain packaging, which we're slowly doing now as well. So just you are ahead of the curve, and keep pushing. We will get there.
Now, I love this next one. I hope I'm dyslexic, so I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Naima says, many dentists don't speak directly to kids about their teeth and just speak to parents instead. This is a missed opportunity. Kids as young as 3 can understand these health messages if delivered well. What's your take on that, James?
I 100% agree with that. We need to make sure that, one, the dental visit is fun, and they're learning something and it's not scary. So the thing I hate when I'm seeing a child for the first time and they're coming in when they're 3 and their parents bringing them and they're going, sit down, Gemma, and don't worry, this won't hurt. It's the first thing they say to this kid, and they're trying to associate a dental visit with pain. And this 3-year-old has read Topsy and Tim and Peppa Pig and all these things about fun visits to the dentist. So first of all, we as dentists want to engage with the children directly. We get down on the same eye level as them. We give them stickers. We make it as fun, exciting. We talk to them about diet. But the thing is, they don't buy the food. It's the parents that buy the food. So if the parents are having rubbish in the house, that's the only thing they're eating. So we do engage with the children, but we do need to understand that they're not in control of the food. It's the parents. And then when they go to school, it's what they're feeding them. So definitely two-pronged approach.
Yeah. Drag your teacher along as well for the dentist. Bring the teacher, mom and dad, and the child. Dentist.
We go out to schools. We give them talks about healthy diet, and nutrition, and food and things. And it's a collaboration. We all need to work together to get this message across. Because if the parents don't want it, then it won't get into schools.
Brilliant. Kirsty has said, can we put, are you happy for us to put your email on screen? Because Kirsty has said, James,
Yes.
Can you leave your email address, please? I would love to get involved and spread the word and help.
Love it. So it's james@rewardsproject.org. So you've got the URL at the bottom, rewardsproject.org. You just put James. I'm very happy to help. If you look on the website, we've got loads of resources for teachers and schools and nurseries and workplaces as well, how your whole team can go on the 14-day sugar challenge and get there. There we go, james@rewardsproject.org. Wow, he's fast.
Yeah. Now, Daniela says, don't beat yourself up, Steve. You did not know. I didn't know, but that's why I'm furious, Daniela. I don't beat myself up. I'm just furious that I didn't know. I could have saved myself the dread of dentists. They're not dreadful. It's the act sometimes might be painful, but the dread of dentists as a child, which had not... basically saying the same thing as we're saying, that we just don't.
Well, dentistry used to be painful. Nowadays, I don't want to be drilling your teeth. I want to make sure that I have a relationship with you for life. We do loads of cosmetic stuff. If we can catch things early, one is cheap to resolve and painless to resolve. So if we get early decay, we can actually put fluoride on, we can put sealants on, we can put resins on your tooth. There's so many things we can do to stop the decay and gum disease and things like that. So go to your dentist early, regularly, to make sure you've got a connection there, and you'll find your bills will be so much cheaper. And we find that once people's diet has changed and they're coming more regularly, they end up coming every 18 months just for mouth cancer checks, really, because we've got their diet controlled. So the biggest way you can save some money is stop putting rubbish in your mouth. That's
brilliant. Leah says, thank you for what you said earlier on. She will send for a second opinion. Great one from Nima again. Is there a dental prevention infographic including top tips that you should have discussed available that I could share? In other words, have you got any infographics?
Yeah. No, we will. It's a great point. I've got a blog about it, but I haven't made it into an infographic. So if you ask me what the top tips for mouth health would be, brush your teeth twice a day for 2 minutes. And if you're having sugar and carbs, use a fluoride toothpaste. Otherwise, you can just use water. That's the first thing. Cut down on the frequency that you're having snacks and sugar and any acids, because nowadays it's the acids, and some of these energy drinks have got not just all the sugar in it and caffeine, but it's the acid that causes damage. They dissolve your teeth. And the next tip would be don't use your teeth as implements. They should be there just to eat and obviously talk. But you shouldn't be using the implements. We get so many people who are opening packets with them, tearing sellotape, and it just breaks them. It sounds strange, but that's the biggest thing. So don't use your teeth as that. And if you are having any sort of contact sports, get a properly fitted mouth guard, because that will protect them. But they're the biggest things. I will work on an infographic, and then I will if you email me, that's my next project for tomorrow, an infographic with all those tips for you. But said 2 minutes twice a day, fluoride toothpaste. Don't use your teeth as tools, and see your dentist every 6 months until you've got the all clear.
James, absolutely amazing, mate. One last one from me from a previous show. Electric toothbrush or just regular toothbrush?
So you can do just as good a job with a manual brush than an electric toothbrush. The biggest advantage of an electric toothbrush is it's got a timer on it. So a lot of people actually the average time of brushing is 45 seconds. And that's not enough to get rid of all the food and the bacteria that's sticking around your teeth. So you need to do 2 minutes. And that's the best thing with an electric toothbrush. And most electric toothbrushes now have timers. So every 30 seconds they pulse, so you do each quarter, and at 2 minutes they shut off. And if you're quite aggressive, so some people brush too hard, with the electric toothbrush, you brush too hard, the motor slows down and then stops. Whereas with the manual brush, you can go really crazy and you can actually damage your teeth and your gums by brushing too hard. So if you're an aggressive brusher but you're not good at timing, then I'd go with an electric toothbrush. Otherwise, you can do just as good a job with a manual brush. You've got to make sure it's a medium bristle, so you don't want it too firm and not too big, because otherwise it doesn't get to the nooks and crannies at the back. But manual toothbrush, just as good, 2 minutes, twice a day.
Brilliant, mate. You know what? I thought today we're going to talk about Dr. Weston Price. I spent 3 hours yesterday researching Weston Price. I wrote about him before, but I wanted to get loads of stuff. Weston Price, for those who don't know, in the 1930s went around the world looking at people's teeth and came up with loads of relations then back to food. But we didn't even get time to do that today. Maybe we'll have to do it another day.
We'll have to do another call. I'm sorry about the technical issues, but
That's all right,
we got there in the end.
Absolutely fantastic. Lovely speaking to you, my friend. Can't wait for all this to finish so we can get together again and
a big hug.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. I mean, obviously we're missing the public health collaboration conference, but maybe we'll put it on later in the year.
It's online. It's online now. They're doing it on YouTube. I've just done a little 20-minute video, so if anyone looks at phc.org, you'll see it's online, the conference. So in May the 16th, 17th, I think it is.
Oh, brilliant. Fantastic. Cheers, buddy. Thanks for everything. We'll speak to you soon.
Thanks a lot. See you soon.
Thanks, James. Well, thank you to James. Thank you for all your questions coming in. I hope you found that absolutely fascinating. I know I certainly did. And for an hour, of course, we just talked about teeth and health and how at one point James said 100% of your dental hygiene comes down to the food choices that we make. And if your parents, like myself, don't beat yourself up too much. We just didn't know all this. We thought orange juice was good. We thought apple juice was good. Who knew that bread broke down, the enzymes in our body broke down bread into sugar while it was in the mouth? Who knew all of that? We didn't know. It's not our fault, but we do know now. So for those of us that are grandparents, maybe it's time to make sure that generation don't get it wrong. Till tomorrow, please tell all your friends about the show. If you can, give us a thumbs up right now by just clicking the thumbs up. That would be great. If you can leave any questions for tomorrow's show on the comments down below when this comes back up in about half an hour as a repeated show. Tell all your friends about it. Do follow us. Share. If you really like the show, share it with everybody. Just hit the share button. Tell your friends about us. We'll be back tomorrow. Now, tomorrow on Sunday is all about Ivor Cummins' research from around the world with what's happening as people come out of lockdown. And we've put that show on deliberately tomorrow to be one step ahead of the announcement, to then see if the science and where we go as a country all makes sense. Till then, stay safe, get out in the sunshine, put up your vitamin D levels, and together we will get this thing beaten.